Yeah, so uterine fibroids, we've been actually talking about uterine fibroids in connection to chemicals introduced to our bodies through hair care products with a number of other guests. We've had some lawyers on who are doing the litigation. We've had some advocates who are fighting for the Crown Act so black women and black men can, and black people can just go to work without having racist framings for what our hair looks like and what it does. And so we've talked about how the perms and those chemicals can really cause an abundance of cancers within the body. And uterine fibroids is one of the ailments that is also attributed, in part anyway, to those sorts of issues, in addition to a whole host of others. So talk to us about uterine fibroids, the connection that, or the ways in which CBD might be able to help the millions of women who are navigating a life with fibroids, because I know that this is a huge issue for far too many people.
Yeah, so I first got introduced to it in med school. Obviously, you got to learn a lot. And so during my OBGYN rotation, I was like, first of all, I don't like OBGYN. I was like, I don't even want to be here, right? And, this,
Why? Why? Okay, why? Why?
why,
Why did you not want to be in the OBGYN cycle or
why?
rotation?
Do
Yes.
you guys want to know the absolute truth, right? So it was on the south side of Chicago, right? I was working and it was like a public health clinic that I had to do it. And a lot of the people that presented there were in really poor health. And so it was like, it wasn't like maintenance. It was more like, this is really bad, right? So you're like, this is
Extremes.
like,
Yeah.
where, yeah, it was extreme cases. And it was like, oh, you know what I'm saying? So it was like, I really don't want to do like this is not what I don't even want to do this, right? So it was like extreme cases of people who were like, in poor health and it was like, all right, we gotta do something or else there
Yeah.
were some really bad cases there. So
Wow.
I was like, it was always something new. So when I started doing my interventional radiology and we did a number of hysterectomies. So they was giving out hysterectomies left and right over there at this clinic, right? So I didn't know that there was another option for treating. That's all I knew was like, oh, these women were coming in with fibroids and they were like, yeah, we'll cut them out. Right. So it was like, some people, oh, I want to have children. They were like, well, maybe we could try to save it. And they was throwing out history. They were giving them out like crazy, right? This place was kind of wild. There was some stuff going on. I was a medical student, so I didn't really have the knowledge or the authority to be like, what is going on here? Because like who
Right.
was I at the time, right? There was some other stuff going on. So that's why I say I did not want to be there. But when I got to my IR rotation at another hospital, now this hospital was in the suburbs. It was really nice. It had all equipment and they had the interventional radiologist there. My first case that I scrubbed in on was a uterine fibroid embolization or a uterine artery embolization. And I
So you were
remember
preparing
saying,
to cut it out. You were preparing to do a
yeah,
hysterectomy.
I was like, what exactly is that? Right? He was like, yeah, we're gonna go in, we're gonna cut the blood flow off to the fibroid, it'll shrink and then eventually wither away, and there's no, and she can still have it. And I was like, what? Like, well, they
See?
was right. And my attending physician at the time, he said jokingly, but I know he meant it. He was like, only barbarians do hysterectomies for fibroids. That's what he said, right? So I remember, and the crazy thing
Wow.
that it was a black woman, it was a sister. It was like, it was a Jamaican lady, and she had found because they had offered her a hysterectomy, and she was like, I don't want it. And so she had found the interventional radiologist and so we did the case, and she was out of the hospital the next day. Her major thing was that she had some cramping because you cut the blood supply, something it's going to start kind of throbbing because it's dying, it's losing its blood supply. And then she was out the next day. We kept her overnight, just for pain management, and she was gone. And I was like, this is crazy. I was like, there's no way that
You
this
know
is an
what? They are barbarians, though.
option.
They
I
are
was like,
they are barbaric. That you would do that to primarily, I'm sure, poor
it
black
was
women.
black women. Yeah, it was for black women.
Right.
There was a
You
lot
are,
of
they
stuff
are
going on.
barbarians. They are in the J. Miriam Sims tradition of barbaric gynecological practices. So you
Yeah.
actually just laid out for us why universal health care is a thing that we should have. And you just laid out for us what racism in healthcare actually looks like,
Yeah,
what
that's exactly
classism in
right.
healthcare
What
actually looks
classism?
like.
Because the poor inner city hospital, there was one option, and it was like that's it. And a lot of it was very kind of patriarchal. So even if the woman had objections, it would be like, we know better. And a lot of these women, feel powerless, and they're like in this situation, and it's like, I got to go with what you guys say, right? And then you go out to the suburbs and it's like this nice facility and they got these, super specialists and they're like, absolutely not. We don't do nothing like that. Are you crazy? And, and
No
then,
way.
and
That
so go ahead.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
And so that was like, I remember thinking to myself, like, this is crazy. Like, why are they doing that over there? Like, you could do this. And so that was the first time that this got on my radar. It was the first time that it got on my radar. I actually went home that night and started reading about it because I was like, I've never heard of this. What we did today, I never heard of it, right? So I wanted to read up on it and then like the treatment options. And I was like, oh my God, this has been a thing. And I never heard of it. And I remember thinking to myself, I wonder how many people have never heard of this. To this day, I kid you not, last year, my best friend, one of my best friends, his girlfriend was going in for surgery, and he was like, "You got to talk to Dr. Damas. You got because I'm pretty sure he used to do a bunch of this stuff." So I was talking to her, and I was like, there's an option for you." She's like, "I never heard of that." And so, not that, embolization is appropriate for all cases, because sometimes the fibroid is too big, sometimes there are too many fibroids, and it's like you can't do it. So, fibroids are not a one size fit all. So, sometimes, the surgery is the thing, but in a lot of cases, you can manage it, with the embolization. You don't have to lose your reproductive ability, and you don't have to go through this really morbid procedure, leaves you with scarring, and sometimes they don't get there. They go in and be like, oh man, I couldn't get it. And so I had another woman that I was dating for a short amount of time. She had it. She was in Alabama and she was trying to find somebody. And I was like, do not let them cut you open, right? Go find yourself an interventional radiologist, get all your studies, your MRIs, your ultrasounds of your abdomen, see how many fibroids you have, and then see if that's a treatment option. Because you don't want to go under the knife, right? And so,
What's crazy to me is that had you stayed in that inner city hospital with that level, you would today might still not know that there are other options. So
yeah,
it's not even just the harm perpetuated against the patient, it's also the harm perpetuated within the medical community, where only the people who are lucky, and I'm putting that in air quotes, lucky enough to get into a space that has a more suburban set of
yeah,
economic resources, that you would have even have known that happened. And I'm okay if surgery is the answer after we've gone through every other option, but to have reached a decision to go to surgery and you never even told me about other options, that's barbaric.
yeah. And so that is the
Mm.
ingrained. So when we always talk about how things that happen, we speak of these conditions and we're like, well, when we start talking about Black women, it's going to be worse. These are
Yeah,
the kind of
this
things
is
that
one
are
of them.
just like systemic, and there's nothing we can do about it, right? You live geographically, you're locked in where you are. So you have access to what's close to you. You've got to have means to get away from that, right? So you're going to take what you can get. That's all that you can get. And on top of that, like I was saying, the experience with the OBGYN rotational support, because a lot of these cases were like unmanaged, chronic conditions, because people don't want to go, right? You already know you're going to get bad treatment, right? So it's like, let me see if I can hold out as long as I can, or
Or
all the
if
other
you don't
things
have a
going on in
primary
life.
care
Yeah,
physician,
all the other
like if
things
you don't
going
have
on
a
in life.
doctor, the emergency room
Yeah,
is your doctor.
yeah.
So it's going to be
And
much worse by the time you get seen.
exactly. And so, it's been a thing that I've been advocating for in terms of, I have a couple of groups that I volunteer for, that are fibroids associated, because through this cannabis thing, I've come to find out that we can use cannabis and CBD to help manage some of the conditions, some of the symptoms and things that come along with it, as it pertains to the heavy cramping and discomfort that the fibroids present, right? Because it can be really debilitating for some people. Um,
Right. So I
so
see here in the article that you posted for this today, and we're gonna tweet this out. You describe uterine fibroids as non-cancerous growths that develop in or on the uterus. They range in size, but you have a variety of symptoms here. You say they can present with heavy menstrual bleeding, pelvic pain or pressure, frequent urination, constipation, pain during intercourse. This can be completely debilitating for people.
yeah, correct. So it affects your quality of life in a number of ways. Not only so, it can even affect your ability to conceive or or maintain a pregnancy because of the size and location of it, right? So it can actually take up so much space. Like I said, there's some fibroids that are as large, it's like the size of a baby. You might see some women, I've seen women who've had distended abdomens, and it's like, no, I'm not pregnant. That's my fibroid, and like, that's what it is. Um, so it affects life in a number of ways. So when we talk about like, the pelvic pain or the pressure or the pain during intercourse, right? These are things that CBD can help with. When we talk about the constipation, if the constipation is secondary to the use of pain relievers like opioids, which slow down your gastric motility, this is another thing, right? So if you're using these strong medications to deal with the pain and the discomfort, and that's causing some constipation, you could also get constipation from, obstruction and pressure. But if you're using something to manage your conditions that's causing that, you can replace it with something a little more natural, right? And then, like we said, we're finding out that all these things that we've been using on our body and on our hair and our skin can be contributing to it. So a lot of people, a lot of the women that are now coming to me for help with that are like, I want something natural. Like I already know, I've accepted the fact that, there's toxins out there that may be contributing to this. I don't want to do anything that could be potentially introducing more toxins and more chemicals into my system. Is there something natural that could help me manage this? The cramps are killing me. I can't sleep. I can't walk. I can't work out. I can't, be intimate. I'm in a bad mood all the time, right? And so, is there something more natural? I'm like, yeah, it won't shrink the fibroids. It will not cure it, but it will help you in terms of managing some of the symptoms and managing some of the side effects of some of the medications that you're using.
Wow. So you've already answered one of my questions, which was, can cannabis be used to shrink fibroids? So you already said that that's not the case. These things cannot be used to shrink fibroids, which is unfortunate. Are you sure it ain't no terpenes or cannabinoids? I know we got the
Yeah,
D9 or the D8, or
I,
I'm sorry, the
I,
Delta. I said D9,
I,
Delta
we,
8, Delta. We got other. Like, you sure
D9
it ain't one of
definitely is
them
tricky. No,
ain't
there's
one of
not.
them
There's
components
not.
able to shrink
Uh,
this thing?
I was looking for it. I actually was. So I will tell you, that's a good question. I was researching, I was looking for any available research. There is nothing. And, this is all new with the legalization. So allowing research to be conducted in that manner with cannabinoids is still kind of, very young here. So there's not any research that would support that at the moment, right? But if there ever is, I'm gonna be up on them. I'm gonna put y'all on to
Hey,
check this
Dr.
out.
Damas, that finds it.
You know,
That's right.
but yeah, so like we said, like, Black women are 2 to 3 more times likely than white women to develop fibroids. Black women get fibroids, develop their symptoms at younger ages. So this is something like, from early on, you're struggling with this thing. And then, like we always talk about, all the environmental factors and all the other things that, we have to deal with as a people, and specifically Black women, exacerbates the whole situation. So access to care, pain management, right? So you come in and say, man, these things are killing me. Like my period is killing me. I can't take it. And they're like, nah, you got it, sister. Stay strong. It's like, no,
Yeah.
I don't got it. That's why I'm here.
Right.
I'm
Well, no,
literally
but
here telling.
our racist belief in your super powerful nerve endings is going to convince us that you got it. Like you
Yeah.
definitely got it.
And it's like, I don't got it. Right? I do not
Right.
got it. And so, you know,
Got and
I
it
want
don't
to be
have each
able
other.
to make sure that we give people options to kind of help manage it a little bit, and not only just looking, as we always say, not only looking at cannabis and CBD as like the silver bullet, but part of a whole holistic thing, which is changing the way that you take care of your hair and changing the products that you take, you put in there, changing the kind of food that you eat. So it says like, there's some research that says decreasing red meat intake can help with that,
Heard that.
right?
Yep, heard
Um,
that too.
there's some other research that says, green tea extract can help, right? And so,
Oh,
huh,
I didn't know that.
yeah, there's a link to it
So
in the
are
article.
we talking about drinking green tea? Are we gonna have a run on the green tea supply at some point?
Yeah, right.
Do
Yeah.
I need to call
Listen,
Dr. Sunyata
go,
Amen and see what
yeah,
green tea she got to
yeah,
shrink
that's
some
right.
fibroids for some sister
Go,
friends?
don't go too wild and Greek tea like you guys did on the oxtails, because once you make it too popular, you're going to raise the price.
Listen, once I
So,
saw Costco was selling oxtail, I was like, Lord, it's over.
this is
It's
crazy.
over.
They don't raise the price of the oxtails. Don't y'all be out there, raising the price of the green tea. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I would like to get me a little green tea every once in a while. Like,
Son, you got to have fibroids to get this
yeah,
package. You ain't got no
exactly. You
fibroids, you ain't
can't,
getting no green
let me
tea.
see your diagnosis, son. I don't have a, yeah, sorry.